Hi guys, my name is Genty. I'm a first year student here at Simmons. I focus in youth services and public librarianship. And so that's kind of the frame of the talk. So how can I help you? It's a phrase that we often use in libraries when a patron walks through the door or when a patron comes up to a reference desk. But how can we change this to help with more than just getting them the resources? This actually ties really well into Molly's talk about radical empathy. And so with that, so this is my kind of agenda for the talk. I'm going to talk about my personal health or mental health journey and how it pertains to this discussion today. And then we're going to talk about some statistics to kind of get you in the framework of why this is so important. And then what librarians can do in public libraries, and then what they can do in academic libraries. So my personal mental health journey, I was formally diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder last year in October 2015. When I was 22, I was in my last year of college. And so for me, I actually started being depressed when I was 9. I also decided to become a librarian when I was 9. That was because my librarian took notice of the fact that I was so depressed. I didn't want to go outside and play at the playground because I hated the other children in my class. So she asked me to start working in the library. And so libraries became a sanctuary for me. It became a place where I could be calm, where I could be happy amongst a lot of issues. And so then, and books also kind of came a way for me to deal with my anxiety and my depression. Through bibliotherapy, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. So what I do want to say with this before I move on is that take a minute at some point and just think about your own mental health journey, be it having a mental illness or not, and think about how that can potentially, how that alters your view of how librarians can help. And if you don't have experience with mental illness, maybe you know someone who does, talk to them about what they would have wanted. Just kind of get some background knowledge. So let's discuss statistics. These are not fun statistics, so I'm sorry. So there is 13 different mental illnesses and disorders that are all up here. And some of them have links, some of them don't. That's because I'm bad at technology. But what I'm going to say here is there's a lot of different disorders and illnesses. I primarily focus on anxiety disorders and depression. I also know people with schizophrenia, paranoia, PTSD, and bipolar disorder that I tend to also kind of frame my framework around. And all these come from the National Alliance for Mental Illness, which they get their statistics from the National Institute of Mental Health. And so 20% of youth aged 13 to 18 live with a mental health condition, and this is 1 in 5, if you don't want to do the math. So why this is so important is because mental illnesses are pretty much invisible. We don't see them the same way we see physical illness. So if we really think about it as if like each of these mental illnesses were physical, it would suddenly look a lot different in a teen room. And we would be trying to accommodate that, so why aren't we doing that in terms of mental health? And then the last statistic is probably the saddest of them all. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death in youth ages 10 to 24. This spikes the 2nd cause after they turn age 15. This is really important, not only for public librarians because they work with people ages 10 to about 18, but also academic libraries because they kind of take on that later half. So it's really important just to be aware of this and to know it and kind of verse yourself well in the areas of kind of warning signs and that type of stuff as well. So what can librarians do in public libraries? Well, lots of things, let me tell you. I've done a lot of research. The first is the concept of bibliotherapy, which I've talked about, which I briefly mentioned, and it's defined as the use of reading materials for help in solving personal problems or for psychiatric therapy. I'm going to say right now, in bold, it does not replace psychiatric therapy and never should. And so it's not the best thing just to tell a kid, like, oh, you just need to read books and you'll feel better. But we can give them some books that might make them feel like they're not so alone, like they have some comfort or just an escape. And that's where our reader advisory training comes in. So looking at, like, work yourself in books on mental health, there's a lot coming out right now in the young adult literature spectrum in terms of mental health. The books I pass out, they all are YA books, and those go with the book display that I'll talk about in just a second. Teen advisory councils are another big place. Having the teens read books about mental health and then talking about them or writing up recommendations might make it easier for patrons to be able to, be like, oh, another teenager read this, is not as, sometimes coming from an adult, they're like, maybe. And then also I wanted to make aware of this hashtag, which is MHYA Lit, which is mental health young adult literature. This links to a lot of teen library toolbox articles discussing different books and what they do when talking about mental health. Another great place to look for books in this area is to go actually on BuzzFeed. I know BuzzFeed is the most reliable source, but they actually have a bunch of great articles that sum up a bunch of different types of mental health books and what they do to help people and personal stories. And so along with the bibliotherapy, book displays and reading lists. So book displays are a way to showcase books otherwise overlooked by teenagers. As you can see probably in some of the books that you're looking at, they don't necessarily look like books about mental health. There's one going around called Six of Crows. It's actually a fantasy novel that deals with PTSD. This does not, I would have never picked this up as a book that was thought was about mental health. It wasn't actually until I read an article about it that I even thought of it. So it's something that can kind of showcase books that teens wouldn't even think of. It can also provide teens access to books in more privacy than a one-on-one reader's advisory, because teens might not want to walk up to the desk and say, I would like a book on this, because they don't want to maybe talk about it, they don't want to tell you anything, and privacy is a big thing with this. Teens already are having a hard time trying to figure stuff out, so they would like some privacy in terms of that as well. It actually seems to be effective in current libraries. There is a Moulton article that I've referenced on your handouts that talks, it's actually on Bibliotherapy, but it talks about how this librarian put a book display in her library, and within a day, all the books were gone. And then also May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So it's a great time to put a book display because it's very topical at that point, and May is coming right around the corner. So along with this are reading lists. Reading lists are actually more private than even book displays because it's just a piece of paper or a bookmark that teens can pick up and put in their bags. It also avoids pigeonholing books. Part of the problem with book displays is it's because it's on a topic typically. You just see a book as like, this book is solely about anxiety, nothing more. And so you can cross-reference on different reading lists. It's more permanent than book displays. You can just keep printing them out. And there already are existing reading lists out there. You just have to search mental health YA book lists, and they're all over the place. The little brochures I handed out is a very rough draft of a reading list that I created to go along with the book display that I will show in just a second. And this it's a very rough draft, so I apologize. There's going to be a lot of typos. And I actually have the revised edition, so if anybody wants it, they can tweet at me or send me an email. My email's going to be at the end of the presentation. And so here are two examples of different book displays. The one on the right is the one that you guys are seeing books from it. I passed them out because they're kind of hard to see if they're just up here. And so what I did with this is called What's in That Head. It also goes along with the reading list that I passed out. And so each head that's coming out of each book identifies the mental illness that it directly correlates with. In terms of this book display, I was very specific to only grab books that dealt with one mental illness at a time. Also focusing to make sure that they didn't, like one of the books that constantly gets recommended on lists is Will Grayson by John Green and David Leviathan, which does deal with anxiety and depression, but is also focusing on LGBTQ youth. And in terms of a book display that's very focused on mental illness, I wanted to make it clear that LGBTQ is not a mental illness, so I decided not to include that. And then the other book display is called Book MD. I actually created this in my undergraduate studies for my English course on YA Lit. And within this actually deals with far more than just mental health. It deals with stuff like sexual assault, multiple personality disorders, cancer, stuff like that. I would probably change the name at this point, knowing that that name kind of blurs the line between doctors and librarians, which is not a good thing to do. But what I did for this one was I actually spray painted my bookshelf with chalkboard paint and then wrote in chalk. You can put little chalkboard signs if you want to. All these are kind of very cheap, easy ways to do stuff. And so those are two examples. And then also resource lists. This is another list. I know there's lots of lists. But these are important for helping teens find resources that could really help them out, while also giving them privacy. One of the major things that I put on almost every list that I create is the National Suicide Hotline and text line. This is really important. I didn't know until I was a senior in college that you could text the National Suicide Lifeline. And I hate making phone calls, so I was really upset that I didn't know it until then. And so I always include this. Other organizations that you can include is Write Love on Our Arms, which is a self-harm awareness, very big nonprofit, and also the Trevor Project, which focuses specifically on LGBTQ youth. So these are just two of them. There's plenty of other ones that you can go and research. Something that I'm starting to create is also just a list of YouTube videos from famous YouTubers about mental health, because teens tend to like YouTube, and so it's a good source to go to as well. And then zines. So zines are really popular here at Simmons. If you don't know, you should just go to the library. There's lots of them. And down at the bottom I mentioned zine. There is a zine, LibGuide, that you can look at and you can see online, and I've linked that in the handout. If you have them already, display past ones if you can. These zines, which are homemade magazines, can give a voice to people who tend to get silenced, which actually tend to be teenagers a lot of times. You can do this in either makerspaces and or workshops. Quincy already kind of mentioned what makerspaces are, which kind of is more of a privacy way or a private way for them to do it. And if you want to make like a mental health workshop to do it, and then you can also do collaborative versus individual zine techniques. Collaborative is each person makes a picture or makes one page of the zine, and then you put it all together in the collaborative one, and the individual ones is each person has their own individual zine that they make, and they can either keep or give to you. And so then the last thing that public librarians can do is mental health training. There's a new article in the ALA American Libraries magazine, if you haven't seen it yet, called Mental Health First Aid. This talks about the need for official mental health training in libraries. Mental health training is the concept of learning about how to see signs of mental illness, also de-escalating situations where mental illness is a part of it. It's a lot like first aid training, but yet we don't require it in libraries, which I think is kind of interesting. And so there's a resource on your guide on how to, on where to find the training sessions for it around the area or whatever area you're from. But beyond this, you can just engage one-on-one with youth patrons in particular, asking them how their day is, just maybe talk to them. A lot of times teen librarians will see teens come in on a daily basis and see them very often. Also just good customer service, saying hi, smiling. One of the biggest things that they talk about in the article is that somebody who was contemplating suicide, he went on a bus for an entire day and nobody smiled at him. And so that's something, just smile at people. And then what can librarians do in academic libraries? Well, all of the above that I just mentioned, because libraries are fluid, but also just in particular LibGuides. LibGuides are a great way to present resources on mental health for students. The picture on the right is of a LibGuide I created for my LIS 407 course on how to cope with anxiety in college. This resource is specified for Simmons College undergraduate students, focusing on resources within Boston, within the college itself. It breaks it down into different ways. As you can see, I have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and then I also talk about my own mental illness as kind of actually a way to provide more credibility. And so that's a really good resource to use that can give them resources and more privacy as well. And so remember, make resources readily available, be observant to your teens, and have compassion. And if you can do all that, you can help them out. And so you're welcome to contact me. This is my email address, which I can be contacted the best at. I don't look at my Twitter very often. So thank you.